Hello and welcome to the agenda on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined as always by Phil Moorhouse. How you doing, Phil?
I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah, did you have a nice weekend?
Yes.
Yes.
Been eating lots of licorice.
Lots of licorice.
Yes.
Do you
It was my
like
birthday.
licorice?
I'd love licorice.
Oh,
and,
good.
and my wife
Phew.
always frets, so I don't know what to get for your birthday. And I just said, well, cheese and licorice. So she got cheese and licorice.
Oh, nice,
But I
nice.
got a lot of licorice.
Did you get like
And
licorice all
unfortunately,
sorts?
it is lethal if you eat too much. So she's a bit worried.
So today we're going to be talking about first of all Keir Starmer's speech this morning. I don't know where he was. He wasn't outside number 10. If he was outside number 10,
No.
we'll be
This
like,
was
oh
on
my God, he's going to
location.
resign. But it was clearly
I'm
not
not
going to
sure
be
where
that.
it was, in all honesty.
Right. And so, I mean, do you think that he's headed off the bad guy, Catherine West, whoever she is apparently back down. She's back down, but she's urged him to go by September.
Like, I mean, the more interesting intervention is Angela Rayner. She said it at the weekend, but she's at the Communication of Workers Union conference. So she's giving a speech there where, again, I mean, the most interesting thing is she's talking about Andy Burnham should come back. So which suggests to me that if someone did trigger a leadership challenge like now, she would stand because Andy Burnham's not available. But she's given the impression, at least, it may be true, by the way, I'm not accusing her of lying, that she believes that Andy Burnham's probably the best one to bring things back for Labour.
Yeah.
In which case, her intervention is basically calling for two things. One, for people not to act precipitately with Starmer.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got.
Secondly, for Starmer to stop being a knob and just let Andy back in.
Yes, which is two things that he really does need to do. But it's interesting. It's kind of like the media seem to be like, oh my God, Labour are in full-blown panic mode. They're going crazy. But the reality is, like, the Labour politicians have put their head above the parapet in any way. It's not felt like full-blown panic. It's not like they're losing their heads. Like,
there's been one person who's done something stupid.
When they need to get rid of Liz Truss in the Tory party. Do you remember the panic? Do you remember the blind panic and the fear in the eyes of politicians?
Well, that's because they were going to be lucky to get double figures of seats. But the thing I will say is, I mean, you always get a little bit of, I mean, this is where party politics comes in. Like, some of Starmer's allies last week were saying, we don't want to, it's this idea, the public don't want the chaos of leadership contest. Like, no, but they do want a change of leader. And they said, we don't want to do what the Tories do and doom scroll leaders, but they didn't doom scroll leaders. Like, I was going through this in one of my videos this weekend. Like, if you think about we have had a lot of leaders. We've had 6 prime ministers in the last 10 years, and we might be about to get a 7th, right? That's a lot. Like, the way I was putting it, so I've just turned 50. In my first 40 years of life, we had 7 prime ministers. In my last 10, there's been 6, and it's going to be 7 soon, right? That shows you. But that doesn't mean the Tories were doom scrolling leaders. Like, think about it. David Cameron, he just buggered off because he didn't want to deal with Brexit. His party wanted him to stay on. They didn't get rid of him. Yeah. He just said, Brexit, yeah, no, go, no. Theresa May, when they did get rid of her, but they needed to. She couldn't get their most important piece of legislation through Parliament. So, and the only way they thought they could break the deadlock was a general election, and she would definitely have lost the general election. So they weren't panicking with getting rid of Theresa May. That was the sensible decision. Then Boris Johnson, again, they weren't panicking. It was the sensible decision because, first of all, he kept introducing more and more scandals. But also, he was about to be suspended from Parliament. Can you imagine the Prime Minister being suspended from Parliament? What a constitutional crisis that would have created. So that wasn't panic. They had to get rid of him. Liz Truss, I would argue her appointment was chaotic and panicked, but not getting rid of her because, again, it was the obvious decision. You couldn't have kept her. And they didn't get rid of Rishi Sunak until he lost the election. So the Tories didn't, although they had a lot of leaders in a relatively short time, all of those changes of leaders made sense.
Yeah.
And this is again making sense. Keir Starmer has lost the public. If he was going to come back, right, he needed something massive. What we got today was the sort of press conference he should have been doing for the last 2 years, because I noticed straight away BBC are reporting on nationalising British Steel, right?
Yeah.
So he did a press conference, and now the news are reporting on something he announced today.
Yeah.
That's what he should have been doing
A
every
good
week.
thing that they're doing, which is nationalising British Steel, which is something that, you know.
Well, but here's what I mean. I said this on my stream earlier.
Shouldn't have been
Here's the
privatised in the
thing.
first place.
That mostly affects Scunthorpe, a town I've lived in, and it's still next to me now. I still live next to it. So that affects Scunthorpe,
I'm sorry.
Right? Scunthorpe's fine. And it's free parking at the weekend in the town. So.
It's 'cause no one wants to go there.
Well, okay. But nonetheless, it's still free. It's free to go to the place no
they
one
actually
wants to go
pay
to.
you to park there.
Yes.
Please come. Please come.
And but the
and Port Talbot.
But this is yes. But this is mostly most of the jobs are going to be at Scunthorpe. And yet, I bet you this doesn't even turn things around for Labour in Scunthorpe. I bet you they still vote Reform UK on the current trajectory.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this announcement, although there's people going, oh yeah, this is what we want. It's like, but it doesn't bring the public back. It won't even bring it back for that one town or the two towns, let alone across the country. And nothing else that he announced today would do the same. That's the problem.
Katrina's saying this. I was under the impression that it had already been done. Yeah, 1 year ago.
It hadn't.
No, but 1 year ago, the government took control in the same way that they took control of LNER, but it wasn't officially, like, you know,
exactly.
nationalised.
It was like, it's a bit
they
like...
They were looking for a buyer. They couldn't find one. So
they did this in Italy years ago with a steelworks. They, because it was going to collapse, the government took it over, got it back on its feet, then just gave it away again. Yeah. Whereas this is like, no, do you know? And it's because, to be honest with you, see, this is the other thing I was saying in my stream earlier. So strategically, what Starmer's trying to do here, and it's the right strategy, but it's the wrong way to do it. What he's saying, he's announcing a load of things today. Why? Well, the King's speech is coming up anyway, although I bet Lindsay Hoyle has a bash at him for announcing things in press conferences again. But at the moment, sod him. But he's announcing a load of things that will be popular to at least Labour MPs, because those are his main concern.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of a way of saying, this is what you're going to get with me. You might not get these, and you like them. You might not get these with another leader. But, and that would work if it were true, but it's not. It's like, which successor would, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your feelings are on nationalising steel. There's no bias for it. So what's your choice? Yeah. So no one would block that move that could replace him.
Yeah.
And then the thing on the EU, it's like, okay, some of the potential successors may not be as strong on the EU as he is. That's possible. But what's he actually promising?
A youth mobility scheme, which they've been talking about for a year.
Yeah, and no one else would block. But also, I mean, we know that we're looking at getting into like the single market for energy and a few other things as well, which we'll have to pay into. But and
be worth it.
Yeah, and but like all he's doing is doing what he promised to do in the manifesto, which is to move close to the EU, but observing these red lines. So it's like. So no one's really sure what the difference is. There is a difference, but no one's really sure what it is. Like nothing he announced today is like game changing in terms of cost of living.
It's very much more of the same in what they were going to do anyway. There's nothing that really made me go, oh my God, they're actually doing this thing. And,
exactly.
Like was mentioned in the chat there, people thought that the steel had been nationalised a year ago. People thought that they were already negotiating for youth mobility. Which they have been.
Well, exactly. All of these things were already
closer
in the works
EU
anyway.
alignment. They've been talking about that for months. Yeah. I mean, over a year really. Now. Yeah.
One of the first in the first King's speech, there was an alignment piece of legislation, the metrology bill. Yeah. It's just this is going to go further, but it's the same thing going further.
Energy independence again. That was brought up, but it's like, we know.
The manifesto.
You've been saying that for ages. So, was there anything? Did I just miss it? Because I got to admit, we watched it live. We did a watch party on this channel, but I kind of drifted off halfway through because it was so boring.
There's nothing.
Okay, good.
It was the sort of press conference that I would have said was a good press conference if he weren't about to get thrown into the airlock.
If he was doing them every day, or at least once
every week. Yeah.
Like FDR's fireside chats.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to do. Just every Friday morning, do a bloody press conference and say what you're going to be doing and answer questions from the.
Every Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning. And don't go on the Tory Kunzberg show. Or I did actually say on that private stream yesterday, because in all honesty, you should do. I think they should be more combative with the media, because I think they're not thinking strategically. If you're doing an interview or a press conference, strategically, from the politician's point of view, from the minister or prime minister, whoever it is, strategically, what do they want out of it? They want their message going to the people. Otherwise, there's no point in doing them. The media, you're not doing it because it's fun. You're doing it to get a message out. And if you're doing an interview with someone, or there's a journalist in the asking questions, if they're not going to present your message to the public, they are of no strategic value to you.
Yeah.
And you are therefore free to someone suggested, I was saying something in another stream, and they suggested I put this on a t-shirt. I probably should. 3 stupid questions and you're out. And it's based on the idea. I said, let's say you got a press conference, someone from GB News there asks a stupid question. Tell them it's a stupid question, and tell them if they're not going to ask serious questions, then they're not going to get invited anymore. And just have that attitude. And I said, and if you didn't want to be that in your face, there's another thing you can do, and it's a well-known sort of leadership technique.
Yeah.
And it's not to get Laura's name wrong, because that's just childish. What you do, right, so she's there. But let's say she asks a question, you've answered it, and she keeps on at it, and it's a stupid question, like the old "what's a woman" type thing from years ago, right? What you should do instead, now that he's wearing glasses, because someone talked about Harold Wilson with his pipe. Well, he don't smoke a pipe, right? So you do it with your glasses. Take your glasses off. Keir Starmer she's asked a question. Take her glass off, slow everything down. Just ignore her. Just clean your glasses for 10 or 15 seconds. As soon as she starts to look uncomfortable, then just quick glance towards her and say, that's a stupid question. How much are you paid to ask these stupid questions? Why am I here wasting my time? I could be doing my own press conference and explaining government policy. I'm here representing the government, and you're not asking me anything about the government. Just say that to her. And if she is asking sensible questions, obviously don't do it. But she doesn't. So when she's asking a question that's got nothing to do with what the government are doing, just make the point, I'm here representing the government, and you're not wanting to talk about the government. You're wasting my time, and you're wasting the public's time. How much are you paid? And just be combative with them.
Yeah. But I would do that if I was a journalist with politicians who come on my show and lie.
The thing is,
I'd be like, sorry, stop the interview there. Please stop. You just said a lie. Our fact checkers have just checked that out. I want you to retract that lie, and I want you to apologise to me and our viewers and everyone here behind the cameras for lying to us all. And until you do that, we're not going to continue with this conversation.
Exactly. The thing is,
that's what I would do.
From both their points of view, journalists and politicians alike both think they're in this symbiotic relationship with each other. No, you're in competition with each other, and they should behave like that. And it does go both ways. So if you're doing a serious current affairs show, and let's say they boycott you, and you think, oh no, because you have to be pally with them. Oh, because then they won't come on the show. Okay, don't put them on the show. Do what Channel 4 does, get a block of ice. Well, that's expensive. Just get a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right?
And say to your audience, they refuse to come on and answer these questions. So we're going to ask the questions, and then I'm going to ask someone else. And if they complain they got no right to reply, they did have a right reply. They chose not to use it. So it works both ways.
If Chris Mason asks a stupid fucking question, and you get the 3 strikes and you're out, he's not going to be the BBC political editor anymore. He's going to lose his job because the BBC needs someone to be in that room. And if the government said no.
They don't, though. This is the mad thing. They think they do. He would lose his job, you're right.
Yes.
But they think they need someone, but they don't.
Let them think it then, Phil.
The press conference is still going to happen. I don't need it. If something interesting happens at a press conference, I can do a video on it. I don't need access to the Prime Minister to talk about him.
Yeah, but Chris Mason does in order to do his job. He needs that.
No, he doesn't.
No, but the BBC will not have him. Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the BBC won't have him because they think they need him in the room, but they don't need him in the room. He can do exactly the same report. Exactly the same report. What does he get from being in that room?
The BBC wants to ask a specific question. Yeah, and they won't be able to ask those specific questions.
They can ask the question. They can ask the question of themselves. And if no one else asked a similar question, they can ask it of themselves and provide the answer as best they can. And if the Prime Minister says, no, that's not correct, you could say, well, we asked you the question, you didn't answer it. They can
No,
just
but
email them or
there'll be no
something.
one in the room to ask him the question. That's my
Doesn't
point.
matter. They
So the
don't
BBC
need.
would sack Chris Mason. The
Yes,
Sky News would
but
sack
they
Beth
don't need
Rigby.
him. What I mean is, all right, if I were in charge of the BBC, I wouldn't sack
Yeah,
Chris
I know
Mason. I'd sack
you.
Tory Kunzberg.
Yeah, I know.
This is what I'm trying to explain.
I know that you will. If
They
you're in
don't
charge,
need him in the room. They just think they do. They're wrong. Politicians and journalists are both wrong about their need for each other.
Okay, but assuming that they're going to continue being wrong for the next 20 years, which they will, they are going to want a political editor that can come into that room.
Yeah.
So Chris Mason, if he's told he will not be allowed in that room anymore, he will ask more sensible questions.
Thing is, you are picking on Chris Mason.
Questions.
He's not the first one I'd kick out.
Okay. It's just that he was the first person to ask a question today.
Okay, all right.
For instance, or Kunzberg, or Rigby, or whoever, or Preston, or whoever it is, their job is on the line if they're no longer given access to these press conferences. That's my point. Whether it's necessary or not.
So you could hold it. They can hold it over each other if they're being unreasonable.
Yes.
But they have this far too pally attitude.
But it can go both ways.
They don't need it.
It can go both ways because a government spokesperson who's not being invited onto any TV shows because he's a dickhead and he keeps lying, they're going to sack him as the spokesperson because he's not going to be able to go on these shows. Goose Springsteen, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I'll be interested to see what Streeting will do, if anything, this week. If he wants to have a go, he'll never have a better chance while Burnham is out and Rayner's position is weakened. I don't think he's going to do anything.
People are saying that.
He doesn't have the numbers.
He does. What he doesn't want to do is be he might genuinely not want to be the person that brings him down, but strategically he doesn't. No one wants their fingerprints. That's why I was wondering if this Catherine West.
She's back down.
I know she has. I was wondering yesterday if she was actually acting on behalf of like Rayner or someone. Because I couldn't understand why the media were putting so much emphasis on one backbench MP who, by her own admission, only had 10 MPs supporting her.
Yes. But that's my point about Wes Streeting. I mean, where are you getting your info from for how supported he is within Labour? I mean, the Labour MPs.
From Labour. Like, we know he's got a large amount of support in the party.
From where? Where'd you get that from? I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying, where is it?
Well, at the moment, I think more people would prefer Burnham, but given that Burnham's not there, you see it all the time. You just have to keep an eye on what certain MPs are saying or what they're saying, some are off the record and stuff like that. At the end of the day, the two people who could go head to head with each other are Rayner and Streeting. We don't really know about Miliband because he keeps insisting he doesn't want to stand, and he might be telling the truth.
I don't want it, as Jon Snow kept saying. No, I just say that because from my contacts I've got within Labour, I don't. He doesn't seem to be as popular as maybe he thinks.
He's actually increased his popularity in the last year with members.
Members, not. I'm talking about MPs in Parliament.
Yeah, he only needs 81
quite a few MPs who
he only needs 81. He only needs
that's
81.
quite a lot, Phil. He only needs 81.
He could easily get 100. If there's a leadership contest, he'll get 100. Easy.
Would you put a bet on that?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't. Mike Dix.
I don't think.
Sorry, go on.
I'm going to be one. I'm hoping that they all see sense, sneak Burnham in, and then just have a coronation and don't have a bloody leadership contest.
That's what they did with Gordon Brown. Just do it that way.
Well, that was a very different thing, though. That was a case of the project. I mean, Blair should have gone then anyway, but they were a bit sick of him. But he got to leave on his own terms. But because the project was succeeding, why would you go with the continuity candidate? Here, it's the opposite. You don't go with a continuity candidate. You need to go with someone who represents something which is.
But do you think
something?
I would say that very much Wes Streeting is a continuity candidate, isn't he?
No.
Would you not? What big difference?
There isn't a continuity candidate for Starmer.
What big difference?
Streeting's quite centre-left. He's completely different politics. He's much more aligned with centre-left thinking. Keir Starmer, I don't know, if you look at a lot of his stuff and a lot of his career, he's very, very left-wing. He's only adopted some sort of what you might call pragmatic policies strategically because it's the only way to win.
You know, you're going to upset a lot of left-wingers by saying that.
I don't care.
He's a blue-tie bloody Tory. Red-tie Tory.
Right, you just look at his entire career before politics and in politics. Like, look at what he's delivered. It's very left-wing. He's like, when was the last time a government nationalised anything before his?
Well, Labour didn't in 1997.
No.
So in fact, they went ahead with private. Well, I don't think they privatised anything themselves.
David Cameron's privatised more than Labour had before Keir Starmer came to power. Now he's nationalising all sorts of things.
They should nationalise the Royal Mail.
Well, you can't afford to. We can only nationalise things on the cheap. Like, we have to basically be given it
wait till it goes bankrupt.
Like the youngest child in an eight child family. Like, we're just getting the.
Is that why they haven't nationalised the water? Because we just can't afford to.
See, the thing with that is, again,
debt they've racked up.
It's not even necessarily the debt, because this is what proponents of nationalise it will claim. It might be possible to take over these companies without costing anything. Will it be free? Be free. It's not free, because even if you can get these companies for nothing, there's still £100 billion worth of investment needed, which the government don't have the money for. Whereas a private company, although they're still going to waste money with profit, they can borrow on commercial terms. This is why my favouring is not nationalising water, but making it not for profit. So it will be like a business, but no shareholders. So take the profit out of it. It can then borrow on commercial terms from a bank for investment. That is my solution. Yeah, which I'd still like to have that.
Anatoly Dyatlov, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Anatoly. Labour can't win the next GE with Starmer at the helm. He needs to go for Labour to gain any popularity and stand any chance at the next general election. I think we both agree on that one.
Almost certainly true. Yeah. We can't be absolutely certain, because we do not know. There's multiple things that could happen, and this will be the copium that Starmer's allies are puffing on. In 3 years' time, Labour, there will be more obvious delivery. And also there will be that heightened fear of what Reform UK represent, and you never know. And particularly if they do make a big offer like rejoining the EU in the manifesto. But it's just, it's just too big a risk. So the sensible thing is to get rid of him.
A lot of tea has been spat out at you saying that that Streeting is centre left.
Well, do they think he's very left wing? I mean,
no, they think he's fucking.
That's just stupid. Someone who's intelligent, effective, and right wing is in the Conservative Party, because, like, if you got to think about it this way, you can have people in the Conservative Party who are not really that right wing, but you can't have people in Labour who are right wing, because it makes no sense. Because
what about the blue Labour lot? What about the blue Labour lot? They're not
right. Yes, that's social. That's not right.
Social conservatives.
That's conservative.
Well, this is based on your definition of left and right.
No, this is based on the political definition of left and right. It's economic. It's entirely economic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your definition of it, but your definition isn't the same as other people's definitions.
That is the definition.
Yeah, I know. We had this discussion about Zionism a few weeks ago, Phil.
Yes, which
people interpret stuff differently depending on what they've grown up with.
People don't know words.
Yes.
Right? I cannot be held responsible for people who can't be asked to learn.
I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying that we need to accommodate the fact that when you say left wing or right wing, it means different things to different people.
So I'm a teacher by trade. Do you know how I accommodate this? By telling people that they're wrong and correcting them.
Right? You got to go round telling everyone in the UK that they're wrong in alphabetical order. Turn up with a clipboard, knock on the door. Hello, I'm Phil from a different bias. You're wrong.
I'd rather they just tune into my channel and I can tell them all at once.
Okay. All right. He comes across to a lot of people as a social conservative.
Why?
Streeting. Because of his rather surprising, considering he's gay himself, his lack of support for the T of the LGBTQ+.
You say community. You say that, but I've pointed this out before, haven't I? When someone's just said he's a transphobe there. How do you know? Because those policies we now know, we didn't at the time, but we now know came from Number 10. So actually Starmer's responsible for them. I don't think he's a transphobe either. He just thinks it's strategic.
Why didn't he kick back, especially about puberty blockers?
Because he can't. All right. The way you kick back is resign. and then you can't do anything.
You just don't. You say that you put forward a strong opposition to it and make it very clear.
How do we know?
I mean that if you're gonna die on a hill, then that's the one to die on.
How do we know he didn't?
Because I think it would have come out. I think some people would have mentioned it.
What I would say,
he was very much against this.
I would say this, right? If you look, Labour were in two halves when it came to trans rights. They were very, very pro-trans rights for a few years. And I would say at that particular point, Wes Streeting was like their main attack dog on it, right? What's that? Rosie Duffield. He absolutely slaughtered her every time she opened her mouth. Every single time.
Is she still an MP? Or did she lose her seat? She's not Labour anymore, though, is she?
She's left Labour, but she's
still an MP.
So the
horrible woman.
So for all we know, Streeting has just been forced to adopt this position strategically, or maybe he believes it's strategic as well. It was still wrong, but nonetheless.
Throwing trans people to the wolves.
A lot of people are making assumptions based on something that he couldn't change, maybe.
He couldn't change, maybe. You're making the assumption that he couldn't change. We don't know. All we can go on is the fact that he has made trans people's lives less comfortable in this country.
We don't. We know that the government have.
Yeah, and he's in charge
of
health.
Also know, because it's not just his department, we know this has come from Number 10.
And so why hasn't it changed now that Morgan McSweeney's fucked off?
If he'd have objected to it, he'd be gone, right? Someone else would have come in, they'd have done it anyway.
Okay, fine.
How is that fine? How does that help any people?
It helps the trans community because they know they've got an ally.
It doesn't help the trans community. It doesn't help them. It means they actually then have someone who's not even trying to work towards a different... We'd have someone who's not even trying to work towards their favour within. You have someone on the outside who can do nothing.
I don't
Ministerial
think
he's
not coming across.
You can make your case.
Look at the chat. Streeting is a nasty turf. Streeting is a bellend. Wes is a transphobe. This is mental. Come on.
You say that, and yet you can't come up with any.
I'm not saying that. Not my words, Lynn, but the words of Shakin' Stevens.
It's other people. But no one is coming up with an example of this. Why didn't he have this attitude when Labour were pro-trans? Why was he the TERF's most vocal critic within the Labour front bench?
Because he doesn't care that much. So I guess
if he didn't care that much, why did he bother
to keep himself in the position that he's got?
Why did he bother? No one else had to do that.
Well, he wanted to get the trans vote, and then he got it, and then he shoved it back in their faces.
But he didn't, because all this policy came out before.
What policy?
None of this makes sense. I'm sorry. Just because a load of other people in the chat think the same way, don't make it make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense to me, Phil.
For all you know, and we don't know. For all you know, if Streeting became Prime Minister, the trans policy could change overnight.
No, but that's a hypothetical. I'm talking about things that have actually happened.
No. What is hypothetical is that
we don't know what conversations went on behind the scenes. We don't know what came from Number 10.
But we do know what conversations happened before. No one else was bothering to attack Rosie Duffield every time she opened her mouth.
Yeah.
Wes Streeting at the time.
And now he's done a complete 180.
Exactly. Because he's been told to. It's like if you're at work, if you think you have to.
Or maybe he has genuinely changed his mind because he feels like, that's the way the political winds are blowing.
But you don't know that. You're assuming that.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about his motivation. I'm talking about what he's done as health secretary has impacted the mental health and the physical health of trans people in this country.
Not everything he does as health secretary is his policy. Not everything the home secretary does is their policy.
He's going to get the blame for it. He's going to get the blame for it because he's the captain of that particular ship.
But
the armada, that is our government.
But nonetheless, no one's making an argument. No one's able to point out. Like, all you know about any politician is the sort of things they said when they were free to say whatever they wanted.
No, I also know about their policy that they've put forward.
The policy is not necessarily theirs. That's collective, right? And ultimately, the person at the top decides.
So he was having a go at TERFs, and then one day he decided
when he was free to choose
and then,
what
and
he
then
wanted
he stopped
to do.
doing that entirely.
Yeah,
and went so far
at the same time that we know now that Blue Labour were brought in.
Yes,
at the exact moment.
Yeah,
that's when it changed.
Yeah,
2023. It was like halfway through 2023.
Yeah,
so we know that was an order given to him.
Yeah. That he took and he went, yeah, I'll run with
And
that.
again, Sarah's saying the feel the actions of Wes is affecting me. No, it's not the actions of Wes Streeting. It's the actions of Labour as directed by Number 10. We know that for a fact. We do not, I'm not saying that Wes Streeting is a trans ally and he just, got voted down. What I am saying is, on the balance of probability, he probably is.
A trans ally who does
Yes.
this.
He's not doing it. He's got no say in the matter.
So, well, what's the point of having a health minister, a secretary of state for health,
Because
who cannot make their own decisions when it comes to patient safety, patients, the actual outcomes for
this is right, Graham,
people
I'm
using the NHS?
Right, you're going to say, I know I don't need to tell you this. I don't know whether you're being a sea lion at this point, right? Here's how government works. Secretaries of state can decide policy within the framework presented to them by the leadership. They are not allowed to go beyond those boundaries. So if that leadership says, we need you to do this, you do not get to decide that policy.
So the leadership in Number 10, we've got evidence that they said literally, we want you to stop trans kids, but not cis kids, getting their hands on puberty blockers, even through a private prescription. That was something that came from Number 10 to Wes Streeting, and we have that email.
We know that for a fact now. We didn't know it at the time when it started going.
When did this come out? Because I completely missed this.
When this came out was in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling. And then it came out that actually all these trans policies had been directed from Number 10.
Anti-trans policies, you mean?
Yeah.
So after the ruling, because they weren't being particularly great for trans people before that ruling, but when that ruling came out, it was almost like...
So at that point, all we had was the health department that seemed to be going transphobic. So that at that point, you could reasonably assume that Wes Streeting's turned on them.
Yeah.
And yet...
So you're going to have to show me...
From that point, we started to find out where this was coming from.
I would like to see these internal memos of Number 10 dictating Wes Streeting and the entire...
Well, you're not going to see them. This is what happens. This is why you have to read these off-the-record briefings from them.
Okay.
And you have to do it all day, every day, like I do.
Okay.
If you want to know what's going on.
Can you find the briefings for me and send them to me?
How can I do that? How can I? You want me to find a whole collection of live feed notes?
Just one
from
that
2
says,
years ago.
Hey, Wes, we know that you're a massive trans ally, but how about you don't do that and do the absolute fucking opposite? Just that'll do.
So it's fine. Just, do you know what? Call me a liar and move on. But people say,
I'm not calling you a liar.
Gracefully. All you're arguing that Wes Streeting has a particular position.
You just said some evidence exists. It's like, oh great, send it to me, and you're like,
but how can I send you something I saw live 2 years ago? It doesn't exist. So this is what off-the-record briefings are. I don't keep. How
do you get access to them?
You just watch it. I'm looking at a live feed now. I'm looking at a live feed on the BBC. I'm looking at a live feed on The Guardian. I'm looking at one on Sky News. And in 2 years' time, if you ask me to find what someone said about Starmer's speech, I'm not going to be able to find it.
No, but this isn't a comment on someone else's speech. This is a diktat coming down from Number 10 to a person who was a trans ally to tell him to stop being a trans ally.
If you are like me, and all day, every day, you're looking at multiple live feeds. Because what's happening is every day, right? And it's happening today, and it's happened yesterday, and it's happening... Well, it didn't happen yesterday, it was Sunday. But it happens every day. It's a live feed,
it's not off the record, is it? This is getting recorded by YouTube.
Oh, for God's sake. What happens is journalists go to people in Number 10. They know all sorts of people. They know MPs, they know ministers, they know cabinet ministers, the prime minister's spokesperson. Random people just working Number 10, they develop a relationship with them and they ask them what's really going on and they'll tell them, because sometimes people don't mind this stuff coming out and then they report on it. They won't tell who said it, but you have to learn which journalists you can trust have got these relationships and are actually reporting on it. And you'd see it every single day. Every single day, you will see comments about what's really going on behind closed doors. And when, like me, your channel is based on explaining to people why politicians are doing certain things. The only way I can know that is by looking at this every single time. And if you don't do it, you're going to miss it.
That missives and diktats come down
and then
Number 10
Darcy's saying something that's wrong there. Sorry. Ministers operate on advice. They're free to choose the advice they accept and ignore. No, they're not. No, they are not. Ministers cannot ignore the Prime Minister. Ever. If you do, you resign. You resign.
Chris C says the decision to ban puberty blockers for under 18s with gender dysphoria in the UK was primarily driven by the Health Secretary Wes Streeting following the CAS report. Number 10 signed off on it.
It wasn't.
But then there's no evidence either way. So
there is.
Except a journalist reported something.
Many journalists
off the record.
Many people in number 10,
number 10
saying that this has come from, and it should have been obvious as well. I mean, I knew it before I even read that, because as soon as, if it was just Wes Streeting, then why did number 10 say after that Supreme Court ruling, this gives clarity when only an idiot could think it gave clarity?
Well, because they decided.
And why did
they?
Why did
that they were sick of being asked what a woman was whenever they went on Nick Ferrari's show?
Why did Keir Starmer say that trans women can't use women's toilets when the Supreme Court didn't even say that?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because they
you
decided...
tell me why. Did Wes Streeting tell him what to do?
No. That's separate.
No, it's not separate.
MPs and ministers can do stupid things on their own, off their own back. But I mean,
yeah, they can.
As far as
they cannot
realm of
they cannot go beyond the guidelines set for
power
the 10.
that Wes Streeting has, unless there is some kind of because why was there not a thing about it in the news? Because there has been a huge kickoff. Why haven't the Good Law Project picked up on it? Why hasn't Pink News picked up on it?
There's been There's been a big kickoff. Where has there been a big kickoff?
No, I'm saying there hasn't been a big kickoff that number 10 told Wes Streeting to do this. In fact, if anything, this could be a good thing for Wes Streeting to say, well, actually, I never wanted to be transphobic.
Why would there be a big kickoff? Why would there be a big kickoff? Ultimately, this is a government policy.
No, because if he is being dictated to against his will, I don't want to do this. Phil, I really don't want to do this. And they made it a thing that I care about deeply as a gay man, as something I care about deeply, and the government is saying, I'm sorry, not even the government, number 10 is saying, outside of a cabinet meeting, you have to be transphobic now.
Why? Hang on a minute. You're making things up now. I didn't say outside of a cabinet meeting.
So you're
this
saying
has
in
to
a
be
cabinet.
Agreed in cabinet. This is agreed in cabinet.
So
all of these things are discussed in cabinet.
So then you've got all the people in cabinet who could all leak at any moment if they're not happy with how they've been shifted around sideways.
That's what these things are on the news feeds if you spend time reading them. That's exactly what
you can't find. Which news feeds am I not looking at? You're saying the BBC. I look at that all the time. I never see stuff like this.
You would have seen it on there because it was on there, and it was on the Guardian.
The Guardian.
It's there all the time.
Okay, I will do the legwork.
You won't find it. It don't exist.
You just said it would be on the Guardian.
No, I said it was on the Guardian. Live
and they
feeds
deleted it.
There. Years, of course they delete it. You try and find any live feed from 2 years ago. Do you know what live means?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not filming it; they're reporting on it, and surely it goes. Will it not be in the Wayback Machine or no?
No,
nothing?
Why would it?
Because it was published on the internet.
But it's on their on their live feed.
When you say live feed, do you mean like on the BBC where it live updates every 15
where it says
minutes?
The words live feed.
Right. So if I go onto the BBC,
live reporting, it says on the BBC.
Yeah, live. And there you go. Labour MP backs down from challenge where Starmer goes on by September. Right. So all of this, you reckon that all gets deleted at the end of the day?
I know it gets deleted because sometimes I put a link to it when I was reporting it. And a few days later, a few weeks ago, for example, I tried that because sometimes it can still be there the next day. And I tried it a few days later and it was on something to do with Trump. And I put the link in. This was on Sky News. And I put the link in. It was telling me about fucking Russia.
Okay.
Because it's the same live feed. It's just several days later.
All right. Well,
but also, how would you find it anyway? But even if it was still up on the internet, it would be like a needle in a haystack. Do you think I recorded the dates and times and everything?
No. It's just you're saying I've got this evidence, and I'm saying, okay, can I see the evidence? You go no, because
of course I can't.
Because it deleted it, which seems a bit convenient to your argument. To be fair, Phil, all things being equal,
that's fine. Just accuse me of lying for what
I'm not accusing you of lying. I mean, maybe you were mistaken.
How can I be mistaken if
maybe you got distracted by a particularly tasty bit of licorice? And you weren't paying attention.
I'm not allowed licorice most of the time. It kills you. People die from eating licorice.
What? Oh my God. Does the bad news ever end?
My wife was very careless buying me so much licorice.
All right. Can we move on? Can we move on?
Sure.
All right. And Greg says, "OMG, Graham is gay. Who knew?" Well, I don't know. Everyone going on the gay bar on every other Friday. Anyway, my evidence is trust me, bro. Says Cluster Bungle. Stop it. Going back to Starmer and his ability to stay as leader.
So I'll say one thing though for people who just think I'm just trying to say, oh, I know this thing, but I can't show you. It is really this simple. It is how government works. Anyone who knows anything about politics, and you must know this, Graham, no Secretary of State is allowed to adopt any policy that the leadership says you can't. It's really that simple, right?
Yes.
So you can turn it back this other way if you want. Where is the evidence that Wes Streeting initiated that policy?
Oh, maybe there isn't. Maybe they did.
Isn't.
But okay, so then the problem is that number 10 said, "I want you, famous person that for being a trans ally. We want you to enact these incredibly transphobic policies."
Well,
and
he went, they do that anyway. Because ask yourself why Shabana Mahmood is the Home Secretary.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But I mean, why he went along with it? Why there wasn't a report, reading between the lines, that he kicked off in cabinet and said, "This is disgraceful." I got it watered down.
Maybe he doesn't care enough to have resigned, or maybe he just thought it's the same thing we can say with Patrick Vallance and what was his name? Sorry, Whitty, was it? During the COVID. Why didn't they resign when Boris Johnson was lying about the fact that those two top advisors, that he was listening to them and they knew they weren't? So they were allowing the Prime Minister to lie about the scientific evidence. Why didn't they resign? The reason they didn't resign is because they were two of the country's top infectious diseases experts. And if they'd have resigned, less expert people would have been appointed in their place. And so they would have thought staying means better outcomes overall, that they can't win this argument, but they can only make things worse by resigning. The same attitude goes there.
Yep, fair enough. But I mean, like Mike is pointing out, if Wes was doing Starmer's wishes, or number 10's wishes, if it was Morgan McSweeney dictating this,
Starmer has to take responsibility.
Then, if he disagreed with them, he should have resigned. But he didn't resign, so he obviously agrees with them.
No, he doesn't. It doesn't necessarily. He might agree with them. I'm not saying he doesn't, but what I'm saying is, you don't resign. No one here has a job where if they don't agree with what their boss says, they just resign. That's not how the world works. You make your arguments, and then
but if my boss told me to go and drown a bag full of kittens, and I went, "Oh well, I can't argue. It's the boss," rather than say
actually,
no.
Some people do that as well. I mean,
No, but I mean, seriously,
that's not what this is.
If your boss tells you something that you find utterly morally repugnant, you will push back as hard as you possibly can. Yeah. And if they're still not giving you an inch, then that's it. You say, "Okay, well, that's it. I don't want this job anymore. If you're going to make me do this, I don't want those kittens to drown."
You can say that, and then it might be that the person that's going to follow you is going to drown all the kittens and all the puppies.
Yes, and then I'll blame them. And then I'll say, "Look, that's fine." And then they couldn't turn around and say, "Well, it wasn't really my fault because I didn't want to do it. I had to do it because I was just following orders."
Not everyone sees it like that. Some people see it as they will do the best they can.
Can I take some puppies out of the bag before I drown them?
No.
So it was kittens, wasn't it? Don't get your puppies and your kittens mixed up. Ooh, fight like cat and dog. Anyway, can we get back onto the main Can we get back onto the main topic of today, which is, first of all, we were talking about Starmer's speech, but we also want to talk about the King's speech and what's going to be in it. So there seems to be a lot of repetition that's going to be in this King's speech. The Hillsborough Law is going to be in it again. They're going to be talking about energy independence again. They're going to be talking about rail nationalisation again, donation reform. I mean,
the elections bill will have more than that in it, but that's a big one.
The voting age is going to be reduced to 16. Yeah, but that was mentioned in the first King's speech back in 2024.
Nothing to do with elections. No, I think the only thing that was...
I'm sure they mentioned making elections fairer, just in the, it was vague, it wasn't defined.
But that wasn't the age thing. That was never in there.
But they mentioned voter reform and the House of Lords as well.
The manifesto.
Yeah.
The legislation that was presented in the last King's speech.
Has this come as a shock? Okay, so closer EU alignment, British steel nationalisation, voting age reduced to 16, donation reform, Hillsborough Law, rail nationalisation, and energy independence bill. I mean, that sounds like a
There's,
continuation. There's nothing in there that's like,
that's what's
wow,
supposed to
Phil,
be.
guess what they're doing? They're giving
Yeah, I
a
know.
free lollipop to everyone.
But that's, I mean, the whole point of having King's Speech is your first King's Speech, like you're delivering the manifesto. You're not delivering the whole manifesto in 1 year. You've got 5 years. So the first King's Speech is what you think is the top priority. So that's a mixture of the stuff that's the most important and also the stuff that will take the longest to produce results. Then the second King's Speech is your second set of, so it's just a priority thing. There's a sense in which there's not supposed to be anything new. It's just what is your second tier of priorities. The reason why there should be something new in this is because, like, without something big, Starmer's on his way out. Which, if he's making peace with that, fine, but he doesn't seem to be.
Well, yeah, but if it was me, I'd be putting something. I mean, don't know. He might do this, but I'll put something absolutely explosive into the King's Speech.
He should have already announced it. He should have announced it. I mean, I said he needed to announce something on Friday. As soon as the results were coming out, he needed something to capture the headlines. Then
what could he do at this point, though? Like, seriously, what could he?
There are things you could do that just make people sit up and take notice. Sorry?
End the triple lock.
No, I mean something positive. I mean, look what happened when they took a bit of money off pensions.
Bit of money. Now we're going to take half your money off you.
See, here's the thing. I mean, they should have been making a bigger deal of the fact that the state pension went up by above inflation, which it hadn't done for many years. Now, that's because of the triple lock, not because of Labour. But why didn't they do that?
I don't know, Phil. Because they're shit at this. They're shit at this.
So they had pensioners moaning about a couple £100, and they'd been, whereas Labour are thinking, well, you're way up on the deal, even with that money lost from the previous year.
What do you think that Labour could do to poach a bunch of voters back from the Greens? In terms of policy, I'm not talking about
it's not. No, policy. The policy is neither here nor there. It's about vibes. So my 1 o'clock video today is on. Did you see Hungary on Saturday?
Was that the guy dancing?
Well, there was that. Yeah, that was. That's
that.
The new health minister, former NHS surgeon. He's going to be their health minister now. But they had this massive, because it's Europe Day on Saturday.
Yes.
So you had this massive contrast between Russia's pathetic Victory Day parade and this massive celebration in Hungary on Europe Day, where they reinstalled the EU flag in the Hungarian parliament.
For the first time since 2014.
They had Odes to Joy blasting. It was a massive day-long party. But the thing about Magyar and his entire movement, it came from nothing. 2 years ago, the party technically existed, TISA party. It technically existed, but it was sort of like the Green Party in the 80s. It was like it existed, but it's like it was nowhere. And they're now in government 2 years later. But they didn't do it like the Green Party doing it. What the Green Party did is they thought, we're going to sort of use Reform UK's sort of sense of populism, right? Change the target, but the same tactics. They just had this massively optimistic campaign. They didn't like make enemies of everyone. They didn't push grievance. They didn't push fear or anything. They just said, we're going to make this country better for everyone. Which is what I would like to see Labour doing.
In Hungary?
In Hungary.
Well,
that was their entire campaign. They had a
huge pop at Orban.
Yeah, but that's like, okay, you can have a pop at your political opponent, but they didn't make enemies of anyone in society.
Well, they went out to rural areas and actually fucking spoke to people in rural areas who tended to vote for Orban and told them, hey, there's an alternative. Yeah. Because a lot of people around, even here in Durham, they don't feel like there's an alternative they can vote for apart from refuck. But they keep doing this thing where they trot out, and Greens do this as well. They'll say, well, we tried the Tories and we tried Labour and they were both shit, so we're going to go with insert populist leader here.
So this is why, I mean, someone was telling me in my stream, and again, it's no surprise, because you could do it for any party. There was a load of people that voted Reform UK, and then they were asked about their policy. They couldn't name any policies, because they're not voting for him policies, they're voting for him based on vibes. The people who voted... most people voting, they couldn't tell you the policies of the party they're voting for.
Yes, And
They're voting for vibes.
Well, that's why.
So you need to lean into it.
I think that I'm aware, and you're aware, and everyone watching this is aware of things Labour could do to make themselves more popular just through communication alone. But my
policy,
question was particularly on policy. Like, what policies can Labour put out that would really differentiate them from the Greens? Because there's a lot of overlap there.
If it were me, it'd be really simple. There's huge overlap. There is not a single, I've said before, like the Green Party and Labour, I defy anyone to tell me any difference between them other than what they say is their mechanism for delivering exactly the same thing that they both agree on. But if you wanted something big, so first of all, I keep pushing land tax, but it's basically like, if you need something that's going to cost money, and anything that's going to tackle the cost of living is probably going to cost money.
Yeah.
Right. So that means you need a load of extra money. So there's only two ways to get it. Well, there's three ways to get it. You can wait for the economy to grow. Yeah, we ain't got time. So two realistic ways to do it quickly. The first is to raise more tax revenues, or the second is take it from somewhere else. Right. So if you think, well, the tidiest is to raise more tax revenues, where do you get it from? Land, not land value tax. We can't do that yet. Land value is massively out of whack, but land tax. Now, what would you then do with the money? I would, and interestingly, there is a minister that is of this opinion as well. I thought it was quite interesting. I would do Roosevelt's trick with just creating jobs. Now, this person who's apparently a Starmer ally, he's a very junior minister, but he is a minister. He's arguing for Labour to do this. He hasn't said land tax, but to create jobs. Specifically, he said in these old industrial towns. Now, I would widen it to old industrial towns and coastal towns, because first of all, these are the spawning pools for Reform UK. I said this on Friday.
Yeah.
So tackle those. But
good analogy there for Farage the frog.
Yeah. How can you regenerate an area like that? These towns that used to have these industries and they're not there anymore, or these coastal towns that used to have a lot of tourism, and like, you know what? Okay, they might get a bit of tourism this year because it's too expensive to go to Spain, right? But thanks to Trump. But by and large, people, aren't interested in a holiday in Blackpool like they used to be. So, I mean, what have you got these days in Blackpool? You've basically got Keith Harris doing a blues show these days.
Yeah.
Like, Orville's rude. Unbelievable. But
no wonder they all vote for me, fuck. It's all depressed as fuck.
These
places, how could it be worse? X.
These places need jobs. So what you would do is you would have the government create jobs specifically in the areas whose local economies desperately need those jobs. It's like, if you can persuade a private company to invest in an area, brilliant, do that. But if you can't, then just create the bloody jobs yourself, right? But that comes at a cost. You can't just say, well, create jobs. It's obvious, isn't it? You need the money to pay those people, because there won't be a financial return on it. There's no economic return on these sort of jobs. You are creating jobs just to stop people being unemployed, just like Roosevelt did. There is a cost to the Treasury of that. So the only way you can pay for it is you either have to raise more revenues or you have to nick it from somewhere else. Nicking it from somewhere else would be deeply unpopular. Yeah. So you have to raise it. Where can you raise it? Not the stupid ideas that people have that would just inspire capital flight. Exactly what happened in Spain. But land, you can't move Hertfordshire to like Monaco.
That's a shame, though, isn't it?
What's wrong with Hertfordshire?
It's in the home counties. Fuck it. Goose Springsteen, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Two things that wouldn't cost money would be voting reform to PR or joining a customs union with the EU. Both are risky, but headline grabbing.
The problem with the customs union is there's two ways to do it. First of all, you just have the customs union like we used to have. That would be quick. The problem with that is that would be a clear breach of the manifesto, and it might be a deal breaker for some voters. Or you can have a customs union, which is one you negotiate, but it takes years. So you don't get it before the election. That's the problem with that. PR, yes. I mean, I'm fully in support of them getting on with that straight away. Some form of electoral reform, definitely. I would love them to do that. I'm not sure that attracts loads of votes towards them. It's something they should do to, like, for example, I said with the Welsh elections, I wasn't worried about Reform UK. I mean, I'm worried that they're going to poison the Senedd, but I wasn't worried about them forming a government because it was going to be PR. and that means even if they had um,
Even
an
if they had
efficient
the
vote,
biggest
which they
share,
did,
even if they had the
they
biggest share, they couldn't
no,
form a government
no,
unless
because
someone
I was
else wants to go in with
confident
them, and
that
everyone hates them, so that's not going to
I was
happen.
confident that there weren't going to be anything like the number of people in
Yeah.
Wales voting for them to allow them with a
If
PR
we
system
have
to form a government.
if we have a they've picked a really annoying name. If we change the voting system to bring in PR, then they're fucked. I mean, they're not going to get
Yeah,
over 25% of the seats in Parliament. They have to team up with somebody else. And the way the
yeah.
Tories are going, I don't think they're going to get
No,
25% either.
I don't.
Um,
One of my viewers had a good idea though.
Go
Well,
on.
unfortunately, they didn't do it to stop Reform UK, which was basically to legislate that every polling station had to be in a school, because then half of Reform UK's voters wouldn't be allowed within 100 yards of the place.
Very good point. Well
But
made.
they didn't do it,
No.
unfortunately.
GOJ, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I hope there's some form of wealth taxation in the works. Could not announce it today if there is, because tax policy is market sensitive.
Can I just point out, they introduced those wealth taxes already, and Labour have massively increased the amount we get off them. You know, when you hear about people like, I don't like to pick on Richard Burton because I think his heart's in the right place, but he pushes this quite a lot. Oh, if we did this wealth tax, you could get like £24 billion. It's like, no, we can't. But Rachel Reeves has raised more than that, much more than that, in wealth taxes already. And no one.
Is this inheritance tax on land?
Everything.
Is this VAT on private schools? They're talking about putting.
I actually didn't think about the VAT thing.
They're putting up the windfall taxes for the fossil fuel companies are going up from 45% to 55%. Apparently, in this King's speech,
they also, they'd already hinted at that. Again, that's one of those off the record things. But the reason why people aren't aware of it is because the thing about wealth taxes is people don't know about them because they're not wealthy. So if you hear so when, for example, capital gains tax goes up or dividends tax goes up, or there's various other little tiny taxes that even I can't remember until I'm researching them, that have all gone up under Rachel Reeves, and they only affect the rich. And the reason people don't know about it is because, one, Labour aren't good at telling people about it. But secondly, they're not familiar taxes. They're not familiar to people. But she has raised tens of billions extra, specifically on taxes paid specifically by rich people. So they already have done wealth taxes. And no one knows about it.
Well,
or if you did land tax, that would be a wealth tax you can do that if you do it right, won't hurt investment. And you could actually call it land wealth tax.
You know, they're getting they're not getting rid of, but you know, the leasehold nonsense. It's going to be capped at 250 quid for 40 years. And then after that, it's going to be a peppercorn rent. So they're not entirely getting rid of leaseholds because I think that would be difficult. But
no, again, someone has to own the thing, and you do need that person to be responsible for some level of admin.
Yeah.
But the problem with leasehold is like, and it's what would ever put me off buying a flat.
This is where you own the property, but you don't own the land that it's on.
Yeah, because you can't own if you buy one flat, you obviously can't own the land it's built on, because like there's loads of other people.
Yeah, but you get houses that are leasehold, don't you? Ridiculously.
It is ridiculous. Do you do any more? Is it still a thing now? But that is more ridiculous, yeah. But isn't that mainly maisonettes these days, which is like a flat? Because that's where a house is split into two properties. Yeah. So I think that's.
But I mean, it dates back to the medieval days, like you know, it was when we were allowed to build a hovel on the Lord's land.
Yeah, I mean, but even these days, I mean, leasehold still has to be a thing for flats and maisonettes, because someone has to be responsible for the land, and you know, you can't just like get all the mate or we'll do it. I mean, like anyone who's gone to university, like
so you know, if you try and
do any sort of organisation on whose turn it is to clean the flat or whatever, or do the bog cleaning or whatever, it's like, imagine that for a block of flats ain't happening. Yeah. So having someone own the land and be responsible for maintaining it makes sense, and having a reasonable charge for that also makes sense. The problem has been some people, they'll buy a flat and it's like, oh, this is the ground rent charge. That's fine. And then next year it goes up to 10 grand or something stupid.
Yeah.
And you're stuck. You own you can't just move like if you rented.
Yeah.
You're stuck because that's a property you then have to sell.
I've got friends that this has happened to, and they've lost so much money, Phil. Like so much. They've ended up walking away.
It's the biggest issue because although the renters, it was right to do the renters' rights first because that affects way more people, but it is the single biggest issue affecting people who actually own their own property. It's like a proper trap, and if you have to buy a flat, and some people have to buy a flat, you haven't got the option of a house. It's a real risk. It's a massive risk. It's a huge.
Hidden Knight has dropped £5 in the super chat fund. Thank you. Well, this was for my bus pass, but now they're saying autism is no longer a learning disability anymore. So here's 5 for Diz Confetti lol. Thank you so much, Hidden Knight. That's very kind of you. I was going to mention about you know what, the other day I was talking about changing the rules about how much money a pension funds, British pension funds.
Yes.
Who have 3 trillion in assets can have to invest in the UK. So you said that the moves towards that. So in 2000,
they passed some legislation that moved towards it.
In 2023, there was the Mansion House Compact that was under the Tories that was trying to do a 5% allocation of these funds to unlisted equities. Labour built on that and said a 10%. Of default funds into private market with 5% specifically in UK assets. I would make that so much more. You're talking about potentially not just 50 billion, but 1.5 trillion.
Yeah,
in terms of money that could come into our economy.
They actually tried to do it more, and I told you the House of Lords just blocked it. Now, what you could do,
Parliament
you
Act
could have said,
1911.
You could have said, well, we'll let them block it. We're coming to the end of Parliament anyway, and end of session anyway, and then we'll just ram it through in the next session with the Parliament Act. And they could have done that with a few things. They could have done with that, like the House of Lords. There was a massive stitch up on the House of Lords reform as well, because the House of Lords kept blocking it, even though it was a manifesto. They've blocked now 2 clear manifesto promises. And
what's the other one?
You could argue that what Labour could have done. Sorry,
what was the other one?
The day one rights against unfair dismissal.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy enough because I think what's come out is actually stronger than what went in. So on balance, workers have got an even better deal. But nonetheless, there was a manifesto promise on that, and the Lords just blocked it. And then they also blocked the removal of hereditary peers. So did you know what the fudge is?
They said that they had to leave by the end of the Parliament.
No.
Or something.
No. What they did is they just made a load of hereditary peers life peers. So technically now, and that's not because Labour went all right then, it's because the House of Lords said we're not passing this until you do it. So basically it's like technically now they've passed the law that says no more hereditary peers, but they're still there. Or most of them are still there.
Yeah.
The ones who are going to be 80, obviously they have to live.
Fucking 700 quid every time they turn up or something fucking mad.
It's not actually that much, but they
do
get
drink
an
that
attendance
in the
fee.
bars.
You get an attendance fee. But nonetheless, it's still, it's disgusting. The Salisbury Convention shouldn't be allowing for this, but that's and I think the reason why, because some of these I would have thought, fuck it then, just let them block it and then ram it through with the Parliament Act in the next session. And I think, this is my speculation, I think the reason they haven't done in the Employment Rights Act made sense because the whole thing was actually quite good in the end, and they wanted it in place. They didn't want to wait another session. But on the thing like the pension fund legislation and the House of Lords reform legislation, I would have been minded to go, sod it, we're just going to put this through. And I think maybe the reason they haven't is because they haven't got a lot of spare parliamentary time. They've got a lot of legislation they're trying to pass. And I just don't think
the Lords are going to be dicks about it. It's going to take even longer.
We know that the Lords are willing to block actual manifesto promises. Remember, they didn't even do that with Brexit, even though Boris Johnson changed the eventual the Brexit legislation from what he said in his manifesto. There was a material change in it, and they still allowed it through because they thought ultimately it was an election winning promise. And they said, we are honor bound not to interfere with it. I mean, they can like say, we don't think you're getting this right, but once they've had their say, okay, it's a manifesto promise, we're letting it through. And yet the Tories and Lib Dems in the House of Lords now are not doing that. It's disgusting.
Um,
If I was Starmer, what I would have done is said, right, we're just abolishing the whole fucking thing.
I think you should have a show called If I Was Starmer. Bring down the House of Lords. Hooray for the House of Britain. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 15 Hong Kong dollars. Are we any closer to Scottish independence? I would say no.
Well, yeah, no, I think so. Every year you go, because like there was, remember,
the SNP,
I mean,
have been in charge
Tories,
since 1999.
It was the Tories who gave their blessing. It was the Scottish Parliament that passed the legislation for the last referendum, but you know, the Tories gave their blessing to it. And the argument since has always been, well, it's a once in a generation thing. There's going to come a point where people go, well, it's been another generation.
Well, yeah.
And unless there is
18 years.
And I would also say politics is just becoming more divisive, and it's almost like the public want it. Well, it's not even almost like it. The public want, like that research that was being reported on last week that said Starmer's like on the Iran war. Starmer is totally aligned with the public, but not for the right reasons. So this is still not winning any support, because what people want is for the Prime Minister to not just agree with them, but to agree with them based on a values-based judgment, not on like practical reasons. So people basically want tribalism. And in a situation like that, nationalism becomes more appealing. I mean, look what's happened in the elections last week. The biggest winner in Wales, Nationalist Party, biggest winner in Scotland, Nationalist Party, biggest winner in England, Nationalist Party. You know, it's like, I mean, I'm not trying to lump Plaid and SNP into the same category as Reform UK, because they're not hateful parties, but nonetheless, it's very sort of divisive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, when politics becomes divisive, you're going to divide people. So I actually do think it might become unless something changes, and maybe it will.
Yeah. We need to call the show call it Wish Upon a Starmer.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't really.
Thanks for that, Tim.
About anymore. I mean,
before we go on, Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The problem with capital gains tax is it doesn't become payable until the asset is sold, so it's difficult to predict the revenue per year.
It is, yeah. And and if it ever goes down a little bit, as they did, the Telegraph will go, oh, she put it up and she got less money out of it. And then you wait a few more months, it's like, oh no, sorry.
I want council tax to stop being on people, because it's effectively a poll tax.
It's not, it's a property tax.
It should be a property tax on the property, and the property owner should have to pay for it, not the people renting.
Yeah. But it should be, I would certainly reform property tax. But the biggest issue for me, well, the problem with that is that how do you know the landlord just doesn't add an extra little bit extra?
Yeah, but they can't.
Like, if your council tax,
because they brought in the landlord reform, the Renters' Rights Act, they can't.
Yeah, but
they can't.
They can't. They can't. No, there's. It doesn't. Right. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. If the council tax, right, you can still advertise a property for whatever you think you can get for it, right? If you have, so let's say the council tax on a property is 12.43. Well, it doesn't split into 12 very evenly, so let's just add a few quid, add an extra 100 quid or something, right? So but the bigger thing for me is not who pays it, because ultimately the renter will pay it regardless. The renter ultimately pays it. Don't matter who physically gives it to the government. The key thing for me is that they sort out the amounts, because it's a complete nonsense. It's supposed to be based proportional to the value of the property, and it's not.
Oh yeah, but also it's the location. It's more the location than the value. You've got places next door to Buckingham Palace in London that pay a lower council tax.
Buckingham Palace itself that pays lower council tax.
Elderly couple living up the road from me here in Durham.
Yeah,
and you only get 25% off for single occupancy. Why didn't you get 50%?
Well,
off?
You could argue you shouldn't have anything off for single occupancy when we've got a shortage of housing. Yeah, I mean, I've benefited from that policy, I have to say. But
everyone can live with somebody.
No, they can't.
And you're not using twice as much council stuff, are you? Bins and roads.
Yeah, you are. Your bins are being collected at the same rate. We're like, what council stuff are you not using as much?
You're not using as much. You're not filling the bins. You're not filling the landfill with so much shite.
It's still being collected. No, I would
Half as
say.
likely to start a fire.
I mean, I'm not saying Labour should get
Half
rid
as
of it because instantly, because we know, and like you say, some people can't, if you're a couple and then one of them sadly dies, and then they're on their own, it's almost like a death tax.
yes.
So I'm not suggesting they change it. What I am suggesting is that it's not a good thing.
It's a tax for being single.
It no, you're not, because you're getting a tax break. It's a
No, it
tax
should
break.
be 50%. It should be
It's a
50%.
tax. No, it shouldn't.
Should.
It's a tax break for being. I've done it. It's a tax break for being greedy and living in a whole house on your own.
No, but it might not be a whole house. It might be a little flat. You still have to pay council tax.
Yeah, but I've still.
And here's something as well. If you've got a property, right, you've got a Victorian house or something in North Liverpool.
A one-bedroom flat
you
will not pay as
split
much
it
council
into-
tax as a three-bedroom
You
flat.
split it into 3 flats, then the council's getting 3 loads of council tax out of those 3 flats, right? Whereas if you were the landlord and you owned if the landlord was paid it, they'd only have to pay it once.
Yeah, but I'm not opposed to like finding more ways to raise more taxes. That's sort of my thing. Because at the end of the day, we need the money.
Oh, no,
And I don't see
I'm
why.
saying that landlord should pay it, not the tenants.
Yeah, I know you're saying that, but I also will say that the landlord will sneak a bit extra. It's a bit like, do you remember when we changed from imperial to metric measurement? So like you didn't ask for
No.
a quarter of sweets
I
anymore.
literally was not.
Right.
No. What?
I remember.
Did we?
And I'll tell you what happened.
I still asked for a quarter of sweets. I did that in York the other
Okay.
year, or the
but
week. when I was there.
nonetheless, right, the
quarter, please.
prominent price that had to be given was in metric, right? So what they did is they kept the prices the same, but it was per 100 grams.
Yeah.
But that's less than a quarter.
Well, that's the reason why we don't get rid of a pint, because a pint is 568 millilitres. And if we went decimal, full metric,
The half a litre.
it'll be half a litre. Yeah.
But this
You'll
is what
lose
happened
your
with
68
sweets.
millilitres.
Exactly. But this is what will happen, and this is what landlords will do. They'll just bung it up a little bit. They'll just go, I need to put your rent up to accommodate this charge now. It doesn't quite fit. Oh no, I'll just put it up. From their point of view, it might only be 100 quid. But if you're a landlord that's got 10 properties, that's an extra grand a month you're making.
Yeah.
Sorry, a year you're making.
Yeah, cheeky bastards. If only there
But
was
this
some
is
kind
what
of
people will always do.
renters' rights act that
This is what
stopped them
people
from
do.
upping the rent.
This is what people will always do. So, but as I say, I'm not firmly for or against such a policy. I just think the biggest thing that we can do is reform it so that people. And there is a difficulty, because what you'd have to avoid clobbering the person who works basically as a nurse or a police officer or something, but they're retired. They were able to buy their property in their 70s, and now it's worth an absolute bomb. But they themselves are still on a bloody nursing pension or something. So don't clobber that. So you might, but then we know you can do that. We know you can get around that, because Rachel Reeves did it last year with the budget. You can just, what she did with the ISAs. So she said, she's going to reduce the limit that you can invest in cash ISAs tax-free, but she gave an exception for older people. Well, you could do the same with council tax. So you could make it proportional to the value of the property.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe have a special rate for people of a certain age, just so that you don't piss off the old vote and do another winter fuel policy. Lock up.
Yeah, but there was someone complaining in the newspaper the other month. It was like a little old lady who was having to pay the mansion tax. And they were trying to make a sob story about this woman who lives in like this fucking palatial 18-bedroomed estate, in the middle of London. And she's like, I'm going to have to move out now. And I'm like, yes, move out. Go and stay in a smaller property.
So what I would say on something like that, if it's like a small number of people, absolutely do it. But if it's going to be a large number of voters, then yeah, you probably do need to just give an exception. Like, it's almost like phasing it in. So let the boomers off. And what's the generation above them? Is it a silent generation? But the older ones, let them off.
Yeah.
And but it's almost like the smoking thing, isn't it? If you're born before this date, you're going to pay proper whack on your house. And if it's after, we'll let you carry on smoking yourself to death.
Yeah. Well, like most
do it
things,
like
like final salary pensions, not really a thing anymore for the rest of
Well,
us.
Well, you can't enter one now, but I mean, I still have the choice. It's actually quite weird. I was looking at recently, So because I was with my teacher's pension was half and half, like, it came halfway through. So I have a choice of which one I want. And I automatically thought the old system would be the better deal, but actually I'm not so sure. It works out. It's not actually too easy to tell. So I have a choice. I can either take my pension when I'm 60 with a nice big fat lump sum, tax free, or I can wait till I'm 60 something, 67, I think it might be, get a little bit more and a smaller tax free lump sum. And I actually did the maths on it and I worked it out, and it works out basically the same. So I don't know which to do. It depends how long I'm going to live. I need a death clock.
No, you don't.
To work it
No,
out
you don't.
mathematically,
You don't
I
want
need
to.
a death
You don't want to
clock.
know when you're going to die. No one wants to know when they're going
Well,
to die.
if I want to work out my pensions accurately, I do. Or I might just ask the magic 8 ball. Or I might just take it when I'm 60. If it doesn't work out much either way, maybe I'll just so that I can claim to be a
Must
pensioner
be nice to
when I'm
have a
60.
pension. Anyway,
Yeah,
Ivan, thank you very much
It's
for
not worth
the
anything because well, it's no. Actually, no. This is the worst of it. It's not worth anything for me because I only paid into it for about 11 years. Because first of all, I didn't pay into it every year I was a teacher because sometimes I was poor, and also I've stopped being a teacher now. Whereas, unfortunately, because it is a teacher's pension is not a bad deal, I will still get more than my wife will for her entire career's works pension.
Yay.
So
Sexism.
she'll have been paying into it 4 times as many years, and
Yeah.
mine will be worth more.
Jesus. It's all right, isn't it?
Yes.
Get yourself a civil service pension. Sorted for life.
Well, the reason is because it's not because it goes into a better fund or anything. It's because your employer has to pay more than you do. So my employers would pay more into my pension than I did. So it's like a double pension. So yeah, if I'm 60, I can have, at the moment, it'll go up because it's index linked. At the moment, it'd be £7,000 a year with a 22 grand lump sum tax free.
Oh, well, that's nice for you. Right. Moving on. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Well done to my Labour MP for bolstering support of Starmer after his speech. I know this will make me unpopular with someone here, but I'm past caring and being true to myself. That's fair enough, mate. And also, you get to trigger the confetti. 3, 2, 1. Which should have triggered ages ago, but it didn't because... I don't know. YouTube isn't working properly. It only clocked the first 2 super chats. Sorry about that. Thanks everyone who's chipped in.
People are still going to support Starmer. At the end of the day, he has delivered quite a lot of stuff, and he is delivering good stuff. It's just that my argument is, if he loses the next election, I mean, he said it himself in his speech today, didn't he? He said it. If we let Reform UK in, the country's fucked. He should have actually used. I don't think
that's the words he used.
But he did say that, didn't he? You watched it.
Yes.
He said that. And that's the rationale here. Honestly, the damage that Reform UK... Here's what I would say, right? Think about the country in 1997, and then, Labour improved a load of things by 2010. When we got power back again in 2024, things were worse than they were in 1997. So it was basically like net, there were some things that we still have benefits from Labour's time in power. But net speaking, the country... it was like Labour didn't even tread water by being in power for 13 years.
Yeah.
Because 14 years of the Tories wrecked it all and then some.
Yeah.
And I would say 5 years of Reform UK, and I'm going to point out, it's not just that they're evil. It is that they will be dysfunctional. We can see how they are in councils. Do not imagine it will be any better in Parliament because Nigel Farage will be this strong figure. Bollocks will he. He will hate being in 10 Downing Street. He will hate being cooped up there. He will hate the job of government. He can't even be asked to be an MP. Do you remember when he said about being an MP, do I really want to spend every Friday afternoon in Clacton? Well, he doesn't even do that. He can't even be asked to do that.
But he's not running to be Prime Minister he's not hoping to be Prime Minister to... do the job. He, like Boris Johnson, just wants to have parties, cocaine,
so what I'm saying is,
and gin. Reform
UK, who are famously unable to even work with each other, let alone others, will be largely rudderless because Nigel Farage cannot be asked. So it's not just that he's evil. He cannot be asked. And in a way, that'll be a good thing because it'll mean certain things they try and do, they won't be able to because there'll be no one putting their shoulder behind it. But at the same time, it will mean that the country will just go to rack and ruin. And I'll tell you what, My fear is we just end up cycling between governments who say, we're going to fix this. The public don't give them time to fix it, like they're not giving Labour time to fix it. And I understand why, by the way, and we just keep cycling around different parties who think they need to make ever more extreme promises, and we just end up buggered.
Yep.
And I wish for death, because it'll be easier than watching another parliament.
I mentioned like policies that Labour could do to differentiate themselves from the Greens, but a slightly different question. What could Labour do in this, if anything, in this King's speech that they could bring in that might bring some of the refuck voters back?
I don't think there's any. I honestly, it's the same thing as the Green Party. That sounds mad to some people if you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, the Green Party and Reform UK like polar opposites on everything. But it's like, but for voters, they're not. I keep seeing regular focus group comments as well as more general polling. It's unbelievable, but it also makes sense. There's shitloads of voters out there who are like, oh, I might vote Green Party or I might vote Reform UK. They see them as the same thing, because what they see is not their policies, because most people don't know the policies. What they see is this party that doesn't have the track record in government of failure and is saying they're going to do great things for people.
Yeah.
They don't distinguish between them. And so, in a sense, if Labour are trying to appeal to the voters that have left for the Greens or Reform UK, they also need to see them as the same thing. And ultimately, what is the thing that unites those voters, some of whom have gone to Reform UK, some of whom have gone to the Green Party? Ultimately, it's the cost of living, it's standard of living. It's the same thing. You know, whatever you can do to win Green voters back is the same thing you can do to win Reform UK voters back. You cannot compete with Reform UK on anything to do with immigration. Don't waste your time. You cannot.
Well, immigration looks like it's going to be net zero, less than net zero. There's going to be more people leaving the country than coming in at the end of this year, by the looks of the stats.
Maybe, but it'll then go up again.
But even that's not going to be enough for them.
No, it's
be
not.
Like, what about the people who are already here, Phil? We need to get rid of them.
Well, they've already said that, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah. They're going to get rid of settled status. They're going to get rid of anyone who.
What I would say is, if you want to know what Reform UK will attempt to do, and again, this is also part of Nigel Farage's fundamental laziness, they're just going to copy what Trump's doing. And what Trump is doing is literally trying to get rid of everyone that's foreign.
Yes.
Like,
but
we're not
the problem
even talking
is
about
in America,
people,
everyone's foreign apart from the Native Americans.
Yeah, it's not even like, that Family Guy meme with the colour chart by the skin. Like, they're slinging white Europeans into, like, that Irish fella,
You're not
for
going
example,
over there for the World Cup, Phil.
Yeah.
It starts in just over a month.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of their stadiums is sinking.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That was the latest one I saw. I was like, this is cursed. This World Cup is proper cursed.
The World Cup is cursed. Do you know what I thought as well, right? We had the World Cup in Russia. It's like, really shouldn't be doing that. Then you have it in Qatar. It's like, okay, for fuck's sake. And then you're going to have it in North America. Thank God we're having a normal World Cup at last. And then it's like, oh.
No. Well, let's have the opposites of that.
This is basically like the 1936 Olympics again.
Yes. Only more money at stake. More hot takes.
Yeah, well, that's all it is as well. It's the money, ultimately, isn't it? And this is why the only way anything will improve at FIFA. I noticed, who was it? Sorry, someone's going to have to tell me. Was it the Norwegian FA? One of the Scandinavian FAs, I think, has been the first to say, we don't think FIFA should be giving out peace prizes. And we think we should cancel the one we already have done. But the only way anything will change in FIFA is if it is such a disaster that the sponsors go, that was a fuck up. Can you not do that again?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But they're just ramming everyone in. And this is what will happen, or this is what Farage will attempt. There is obviously an element of incompetence. Because one thing I will point out, that's my bit of copium here, Trump, even though a lot of his stuff has been incompetently managed, there's a base level of competence with Trump's thing, because the Republicans themselves are already established in Congress. So he has a pool of people who know what they're doing to draw on to do his mad shit, right? Reform UK won't have that, because they've come from nothing. They've got, and even the Tories they're getting, who are there, according to Farage, to provide, because he recognises that if he just has the core, they will have no idea what to do. So he's getting Tories specifically because they do. But he's attracting all the failed Tories. It's like the ones who were shit.
Well, that's all of them, to be fair, Phil. They are all a bit shit. Like, they are.
Well, there are some competent ones. You might not
well,
like
there were,
them,
but Boris Johnson got rid of them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Not since 2019.
I noticed
competence.
When David Gauke was made a peer, the Express was spitting feathers, and they were blaming Keir Starmer. It's because Gauke, of course, was a Remainer, so they hate him. I'm doing a video tomorrow if I've got time on the Daily Express. Do you know what their make Brexit work is?
Oh, go on.
Heard it?
Go on.
So there's 3 parts to it. Their manifesto on making Brexit work.
Okay.
They call it the giving us a proper Brexit, but they call it a crusade, not a campaign, because you know Daily Express. And the first one is, of course, leaving the European Court on Human Rights. I mean, that's fairly pedestrian for for any Brexiteer who wants to have to acknowledge that Brexit was shit, but not be, not admit they're a liar or a fool. The second one is hilarious, which is to ban and enforce the ban of all non-British vessels from what they say is 12 miles out. Now, this is where they're fucking it up because a country technically owns the seas 12 nautical miles out from their land, which is actually about 40 natural miles. But I don't expect them to know the difference. But can you imagine that? It's like, okay, so no ferries. So you can't actually visit the continent unless it's on a British ferry, of which we've only got maybe half of them are British. I mean, the reason they'll be doing it, of course, is to stop French fishing vessels. So it's like, okay, so now British fishermen aren't allowed to sell their stuff in France. But also it means no trade. So no trade. So we can't have any ships.
How many ships are registered in the UK?
Food. Yeah, so
they're all registered in Panama City or Monrovia or Maduro.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose if they're genuinely British, they could re-register them, but that would still, you'd probably guess only about half the ships bringing things to and from Britain are British. So that means, and I am going to point out that the hilarity of this is you could end up blocking like a Moroccan vessel that's bringing us our food.
Yeah,
but allowing asylum seekers on a dinghy as long as the dinghy's made in Britain. That's how it would work.
Well, I was going to say as well. I think we should switch to nautical miles. First of all, you'd have to run a greater distance for the marathon, but
yeah, you would.
Nautical miles are metric.
Cruel. It already kills people, Graham.
Nautical miles
famously killed the first person who ran a marathon.
Nautical miles are metric. So the original meter was originally envisaged as 1/1,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator. It was based on the size of the planet. It's not quite. They were a little bit out. As you could measure it in the 1730s. But yeah, a nautical mile is a 60th of a degree of longitude.
Yeah,
perfect. That is great because it's the same all over.
It makes sense for seafarers, certainly.
Yeah.
Because like the miles that we can use on a road wouldn't make much sense at sea.
Latitude. You'd have to keep latitude at the equator. Sorry, just to hang on, Graham. That's not quite right. We've got a super chat in, mate. We've got a massive super chat from Ivan Ambrose, which deserves confetti all on its own. Thank you very much, Ivan. Woohoo! Confetti! Yeah! Diz is very, very excited. Thank you. Ivan says, we need to talk about mental health impact too of Refux surge in the last week's elections. Both county and borough vote in my area of Ipswich went to Refux from being Labour for decades. I'm devastated. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think Refux, that's what they want to do. They want to create depression and despair and this idea that it's all, going to go
well, awful. They do. The problem is it's in their interests as well.
Fucking vampires.
But to make people's lives shitter and then just blame the national government.
Yeah. Except when they get in power and then they'll say, no, it's not our fault. It was the previous.
They will. Oh yeah, they will 100% blame others.
The boogie.
My worry is I don't think Farage cares. I think he just sees it as his ultimate grift. He probably won't even intend to stick around.
No.
I think he's just going to go in. He'll repeal all the laws that Labour are bringing in to hold ministers to account on standards. He'll repeal them all so that all of his trousering of public cash becomes legal.
Yeah.
He'll do that. Then he'll trouser a load of cash for 2 years and then piss off again. And he'll leave them to it. Because he'll knows he'll lose the next election. But then he'll get to say afterwards, oh, well, I would have won it. But sorry, mate. He'll claim ill health, right? He'll just claim ill health. He'll trouser as much cash as he can. He'll spend 1 year repealing a load of laws that could cause him trouble. Another year or two trousering cash. And then he'll piss off. He'll go, oh, sorry, I'm not feeling very well. I probably shouldn't have smoked so much. Oh, darn it all, man. Darn it all. I'm so ill. And for the good of the country, I'm going to step down. And then when they lose the next election, he'll just say, well, they would have won it with me, but I'm afraid I'm a bit ill. Sorry.
Sphere Lance, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, mate. Just to point out that the Express has, on its banner a Norman soldier.
Yeah.
Norman. Yes, it does indeed.
So I think the point that Sphere's trying to make there, or Lance trying to make there, if I'm getting it right, is
it's a Frenchman.
This specifically this anti-immigration outlet literally promotes the idea of immigrant invaders.
Yes. Literally has a picture of an immigrant invader on its masthead. A Northman, a Viking from France.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah,
not even a Frenchman, Phil.
Well, it was all a bit mixed back then.
It was. People seem to care a bit less. We had the Danelaw up here in Durham, you know.
Well, there's still, I mean, parts of the northeast, half the language is basically Danish anyway.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes a bit tricky to work out what a Geordie is saying unless you're initiated.
It's true. And also, it's why you get a lot of Kirks up here. You get a lot of Kirks. Captain Kirks. Kirk used to mean church, I think.
That was a thing. You know, I mean, Danish. You know, I've noticed as a teacher quite a lot of different naming things. Like when I was a young teacher, there were loads of Kylies, obviously after Kylie Minogue, and they sort of disappeared. And there were various periods where you had a load of Aarons. I don't know who that was after, but there was a load of Aarons for a while. But there's this. I don't watch television, but there's this thing apparently called Amandaland.
Yes.
And I was reading this thing, they were saying, like, I think it was Joanna Lumley talking about it and saying, well, everyone knows an Amanda. And I just thought about it, thinking, I've never known an Amanda, and I've been a teacher. So I've known a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've never had an Amanda as a student, or I've never known an Amanda. Maybe there's a vacuum of them in the sort of North Midlands or something.
Maybe. I don't know. My Australian girlfriend, Mandy, she's I was going to say she's a Mandy. She's an Amanda.
I mean,
but she's Australian. So
when I say I've not known Amanda, I have known like a couple. But as a student, like I've had thousands of students. I've never had a
popular name for this generation coming up.
Is it?
No, I'm saying maybe it wasn't a popular name.
Oh, right.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. So yeah.
Because it's just weird that someone would say, "Oh, everyone knows an Amanda," as if Amanda is. And maybe it is a really common name around the country. But I'm thinking, isn't it weird then that I've never had an Amanda as a student? I think I have known. I think I've had one colleague, and I think I knew someone at university, and I think that's it.
It's funny because Mandy was known at work in Liverpool, where she used to work as Mandyland, and there's a show now called Amandaland.
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Miss Paula, have you seen it? It's very funny. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. As someone who has worked as a computer programmer in the port industry for a short time, I have to say I've never heard a more unhinged idea of only allowing UK flagships in UK waters.
It's insane.
Thanks, Miss Paula Thomas. And yes, 100% it is. Brutally. So what was the third one? So I was laughing too much.
The third one, right.
I was laughing too much at your
So the third
12
one is
nautical miles.
Business red tape, which what that means is, of course, what's red tape, rules and taxes. So that means your workers' rights are going. Your standard. So if your product is defective, well, sorry, we can't give you a refund or replace it because that's red tape, innit?
But also it means we can't sell anything to Europe because they'll say, well, it's not up to our standards.
Exactly. Precisely. And also, but that's fine because we can't sell it to Europe anyway because we're not allowed to put it on a boat. We'd only put it on a British boat. But then you'd think, well, what if the EU adopted a mirror rule? Then literally we won't be able to trade.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, so it's like, okay, only British vessels allowed in the British waters, but then only EU vessels allowed in the EU waters. So we're going to have a changeover at halfway.
Oh, mate, we need to use this. You know when they
catapult it from
you know when they
to
say,
another.
"Oh, we didn't make the most of Brexit." The reason why Brexit wasn't because we didn't fulfil the freedoms that Brexit gave us. You want to just throw these back? I mean, this is an absolute bloody nonsense.
I'm doing a video on this for tomorrow.
This is ridiculous. What we'll do is we'll impoverish the entire country. Yeah. We'll become the North Korea of Europe. That'll show them.
North Korea have some trade with China at least. Who are we going to trade with? I don't think they even want us to trade with Ireland.
No, because that's part of the EU.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, also just Ireland. I mean, quite a lot of these people would be more than happy if Northern Ireland just join the Republic again and stop to be a hassle.
1 nautical mile is 1 minute of latitude. Yes, I correct. I said latitude at the equator, and then the equator is a latitude line. It's not long. Sorry, I misspoke. Frank, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Otherwise, thank you, correcting me there. Let's face it, it's the same Daily Fail readers that complained about the ident of Channel 4 with the then Channel 4 cyborg bringing the migrants over and gently placing them on the White Cliffs of Dover. Yeah, Sheffield, Steve. Yeah, these people have too much time in their hands. I don't have enough time on my hands. I'm always busy. I've got a to-do list of like 50 fucking things on it. And these people who've got too much time on their hands get to decide what happens in the future.
I mean, the thing about the Daily Express read as well is that a lot of them are quite poor. So they're screwing themselves over the most. And it just sort of proves that, this proves the basis of politics. It shouldn't be possible to read such a manifesto, and think that's a good idea. Like if you literally, it does say no British vessel. I'm going to find the exact.
While you're looking for that, Ivan, just on your super chat that you gave about being down about the refuckers, I think one of the things that we have to try and do, especially I'm in a refuck area. Well, my particular ward isn't refuck, but generally speaking, Durham is if you have a county council here now. I think it's pointing out to the people in your community just how shit refuck are at everything. They're absolutely incompetent.
In a generation, crash and burn, but it does need people to keep pointing it out.
Yeah,
because some people are thick. Listen.
Don't beat around the bush.
This is the actual quote.
How come you're not a teacher anymore?
They must have had this campaign for a while. I do not know why I haven't come across it before, because they must have been pushing it. I just came across it in another little article. I occasionally read the Daily Express for their Brexit articles because they,
oh my God,
source material. The Daily Express, give us a proper Brexit crusade, has called for Britain to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, slash red tape for businesses, and enforce a 12-mile exclusion zone around the UK for British vessels only. That is word for word what they've said. So no one can look at that and go, oh, they just mean French fishing boats. No. 12... Enforce a 12-mile, and we suspect they mean nautical miles, because I think, a 12-mile exclusion zone around the UK for British vessels only. Don't say British fishing vessels. British vessels only.
Actually, that means that because you can be registered, but the construction of the vessel, Camel Laird's make some shit.
I assume they'll mean the registration. I'll bet you. I'll tell you what I am going to say though. I bet you they'll be fine allowing the Russian shadow fleet through.
Oh yeah. They'll definitely. I mean, they'll want their usual backhander. They'll want their usual, brown envelopes stuffed with used fivers in non-sequential numbers, stuffed down the back of the radiator in the men's bogs in King's Cross Station, as usual. But I mean, or cryptocurrency as it's also known these days. But yeah, just to round off, because we have gone a little bit over time today. But thanks everyone for sticking with us. I want to see something in the King's speech about corruption in politics that will absolutely screw the refuckers over, and they're doing some kind of movement towards
the elections bill is obviously the thing for that,
towards foreign donations and crypto donations. Crypto donations is a moratorium on it at the moment. Foreign donations, I think they already have capped it, but it's still quite a lot. It's like 100,000.
It is. First of all, the cap should be zero.
It should be zero.
I think the cap on foreign donations should be zero. It's like, okay, if you've got British citizens abroad and you want to give them the vote, okay. Even then, it's like, That's okay, whatever, I can accept that.
for 5
But I
years.
don't see why you should be able to donate if you don't live there.
Yeah.
And the second thing
Conservative friends of
is
Russia.
I would introduce a cap for this country, and it would be quite a low cap. I would actually not, allow people or organisations to donate a lot. The trickiness with Labour doing it is, of course, unions. So how do you do it so that unions can still do it or not? So maybe, I mean, part of me thinks you probably can't do it very easily, just because of Labour's reliance on the unions. But then maybe I thought to myself, or could you just actually be cheeky and say that there might be some way to do it. There might be some way to stop a foreign corporation, even one active in the UK, donating.
Yes.
But not a British.
If they put that into the King's Speech, that would be pretty
British
cool.
organisations.
That would be pretty cool. And also, it would snooker the refuckers because Farage is only in this for the money.
Only gets money from foreigners.
Second jobs. Stop MPs having second fucking jobs.
Yes.
That should be in the King's Speech because that would fuck Nigel Farage because he's only in it for the money.
That won't. I will guarantee that won't be, because there is a parliamentary cross-party group working on that. I don't think what's going to come out of it is going to be good enough. I'm going to say.
Idiots.
I would say. I know.
They've got a 150-seat majority. Just do it.
They didn't need a cross-party group. They could have just gone in. And I would have said, so I get how there are some jobs like doctor and lawyer where you've got
then
to do
be a doctor, be a lawyer.
No.
Don't be a politician. No, I'm sick of this, Phil. Because that's the only excuse people have.
Graham, there's an easy solution. You just say that you have a list of professions which require you to do some stuff for registrations that you can do some work on.
You don't get paid
but
for
even
it.
then, you say that there'll be a special MP's tax of 100% of what you earn from it. So basically, you will not make any money from even that work.
Yeah, okay.
So you do it purely. It's like you might as well, as a lawyer, do it pro bono.
What about pilots though? They've got to fly so many hours. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't become an
MP.
MP.
That happens, you allow it. You just any profession that requires it to maintain professional registration, you are allowed to do the minimum amount of work required to maintain that registration. That's not a problem, but your pay will be taxed at a special rate of 100% on extra parliamentary income.
Yeah.
Everything.
Farage will be out of Parliament.
All of the forms of paid employment, if it's not strictly required for a professional registration, is banned.
Yeah.
So you can go and do a talk show. If you're not the presenter, if you're a guest on it, and not a not a regular guest, you cannot have your own where you are the presenter. You cannot have one where you make money from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. If we did that, Farage will be out of Parliament before the ink was dry on the King's signature.
Someone's made a comment about second job. Farage doesn't have a second job out of Parliament. He has a second job in Parliament. Because at the end of the day, if you've got multiple jobs, what is your main job, the one that pays the most? MP doesn't pay him the most. His GB News gig pays him most. So his job is GB News gobshite.
Yeah.
His MP is a side hustle.
Yeah.
That's exactly
that's why he's never in Clacton. He doesn't even know where Clacton is. He wouldn't be able to point it out on a map.
Well, that's why occasionally he does photograph himself there, because he finds himself there by accident.
Oh, do you know what? Someone should go up to him with a map of the UK with no names on it and say,
point Clacton
and say, can you point Clacton out? Can you tell us where it is? I bet he wouldn't know,
Do you know what? I bet he wouldn't.
Could someone do that, please? Someone who's watching from Led by Donkeys or something. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. It's really generous of you. Thank you. Graham, remember the message I sent you about someone I had to stop being friends with? The person went on GB News, but since they've been on YouTube moaning about reflux gains, you couldn't make it up. Well, yeah. But then again, I mean, Marina went on GB News, didn't she, to sit with, what's his name, dickhead? What's his name? Rees-Mogg. Jacob Rees-Mogg. And she just demolished him. And then she said, I'm never coming back on this again, and fucked off.
That's because she found the experience a bit toxic. But I will always support people going on those shows, to push back, because those shows depend on being able to say, well, we're inviting these people on and they're not coming on.
Yeah. But also they get dickheads on who can't make a good argument, and it makes it
that is a problem. That is a problem. But at the end of the day, that is someone trying there's like...
I don't know if I'll do it though, Phil, mate. I don't think I could.
Well, it's in London. But
Yeah,
I
that's their
again,
London.
they rely on this argument. Oh, well, we ask them to come on and they don't come on. And it's like, so if they ask me, as long as I can physically do it. I mean, I am in London twice. I'm in London. I'm basically living in London next month.
I'm so
I've got
sorry.
to I've got to go for the climate thing again at the South by Southwest, and that's actually an extra day than it was last year. And then, of course, there's the Rejoin March next
Yes,
month as well,
June
the
the
end of the month.
20th.
So I'm
Oh,
basically in London for about 5 days next month, which
mate,
is like
how will you live?
I could have a nervous breakdown in July. I actually might have a
I'm
nervous
sure you
breakdown in
might.
July.
I'm sure you might. But yeah, that there, London. Ugh. Try not to get your phone robbed or stabbed or all the terrible things
Do you
that
know
happen in
what?
London.
I don't know my way around London. So when I'm walking around London, I've got my phone in my hand, getting it to try and tell me where to bloody well go. And I do not feel even slightly nervous. Yes, someone could run past and grab it, and good luck to them because it's a shit phone that's like fingerprint locked. But nonetheless, I don't feel I have to look over my shoulder or anything. It's absolute bullshit what they come out with. I mean, cities are going to have more crime than other parts of the country,
Yeah.
but I mean, they've been going on again. Like Trump's been having a pop at Sadiq Khan again, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Whining at him.
Yeah.
It's
About the
like
danger of London.
Sadiq Khan's just had to take to rolling his eyes at this point now. It's going on for 10 years, he's been saying. It's actually 11 years now, I think.
Yeah.
A bastard decade that Trump keeps specifically name checking him. And like London's this shithole and Khan's doing a really terrible job. And it's like, well, do you know what Khan's done that Trump's never done? Like retained power in an election. Twice. He's defended himself in an election twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
He should come back to Parliament and become our leader.
Sadiq
But
Khan.
Burnham will be fine, I think. Sadiq Khan would be even better, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He's got no desire to.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, I will actually be fair. I mean, Sadiq Khan fits in very well as a London mayor. He would have to change a lot of rhetoric if he had to win votes outside, because voters in London are a very specific beast. Very much, I mean, the very multiculturalism he promotes and stuff is not necessarily shared across the whole country.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But there we go. Phil's in London more than Farage in Clacton. I actually think I am. I actually do think I am. I've been to London for, I would say, in the last few years, about several days a year.
Yeah.
So I think I probably am. Maybe I should get someone to buy me a house in London.
Well, the London murder rate is like 1 in 100,000, and the murder rate in Washington DC is, well, the national murder rate in America is like 5.9 in every.
That's because they encourage people to have guns and anger at the same time.
Yeah,
it's like the literally they're saying, we want you to have guns and be really angry. What could go wrong? But yeah, Trump moans that people shoot at him.
Yeah, so in in London it's 1 in 100,000. In the US, across the US, it works out to about 5.9. Do you know what it is in Washington DC in 2024? 27.
Ooh,
good guess. 27 times. It's
actually come down because this is the thing about Washington DC, because Trump took it over saying it was this Democrat shithole.
Yeah,
and yet it's actually come. The violent crimes come massively down.
Yep,
it was way worse a few years ago.
Yeah, but then again, there's less violent crime now because young people are too busy doom scrolling and not going out and stabbing each other. Hidden Knight, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. MP's second job must not be paying more than their MP's wages. If they want a second job, they can work in the civil service. Imagine Farage and Tice as bin men.
No MP has the right to say they're hard up. Their salary. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in favour of them being paid even more, but nonetheless, yeah, it's like
plus bonuses. They get another house in London, which basically gets paid for. If they travel on the train, you know when you look on the train first and you're like, oh, that's fucking crazy because it's getting from Doncaster to London. You're like, well, how much? But then you look at the first class fares and it's like £358, and you're like, who pays that? You pay that, Phil, out your taxes. Because every time an MP goes down to London, which is twice a fucking week, they go there and they come back, right? And it could be at any time, so it's not like they can book this stuff in advance because you don't know how long the debate's going to go on for. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I ain't got a problem with that,
paying that at your taxes.
I ain't got a problem with that.
I do. They should be going first class. Fuck them.
No.
They should be running behind the train. Put them on the roof.
I haven't got a problem with any of this because at the end of the day, it's shit being made to commute from, particularly pissing MPs from Northern Ireland or Scotland,
Phil.
Poor bastards.
I'd love that.
This is why they need the Parliament in Doncaster. But but I haven't got a problem. What I have a problem with is the fact that they think they need more. And it's like, no, if you can't live on that, you should not be voting on the national budget, right? That's instantly to me. If you say you cannot live on an MP's salary, then you should not be deciding how this country spends £1 trillion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Phil, we're going to have to leave it at that. But before we go, Attila is asking, are you going to become a pearly king?
No.
Okay.
It stresses me out going outside the house. It stresses me out going to very crowded places. Like so it incredibly stresses me out going to London. I mean, especially when, they keep locking the toilets when I go. So it doesn't exactly make you feel welcome. I mean, it's a lovely place. It's really easy to get around. It's like a brilliant place from an infrastructure point of view. And of course, they're much more aligned with me than lots of the place I live, ironically.
Yeah.
But still, it's just people is stressful. Yeah. People and noise and crowds and
Anyway. All right, Phil. Well, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Thanks everyone for watching. If you haven't already given us a like, please give us a like before you go. It's always good to feed the algorithm. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Next time you'll be able to join the conversation. And if you are subscribed, hit the bell notification icon. I'll be back at 9 o'clock tonight with another show. I normally do the American show. I normally stateside tonight. But I don't think that's going to be on the agenda. This is the agenda. I don't think that's going to be on the cards tonight. So we're going to do something else at 9 o'clock tonight. So it'd be lovely if you could join me for that. I'll be definitely doing Morning Brew tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then on Wednesday, don't forget, we've got the King's Speech and the State Opening of Parliament and all that jazz, which we'll be doing a big watch party for. Yay. So hopefully I'll see you at one of those things. In the meantime, thanks, Phil.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And thanks for the super chats. Really appreciate it. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.